Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Is that better? Thank you. I'll confirm that a quorum is present because all council members are here, as well as the municipal clerk. I'll call the meeting to order at 9:30 a.m. The territorial land acknowledgement. We respectively acknowledge that the township of Alma-Cullivan is located on the Mississaugan and Anishinaabe territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississaugan and Anishinaabe. The township of Alma-Cullivan respectively acknowledges that the Mississaugan Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. Item 3 is approval of the agenda. That the agenda for the regular council meeting held on September 10th, 2024 be approved. Do I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Ainsworth and seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. All in favor? That motion's carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Mike, you have something to declare?
Yes, I do, Mayor. It comes with Article 6.5 enclosed. So I contacted the integrity officer about this item, and I have a statement here just to read that for my declaring conflict of interest in some of it. I have an interest in the confidential report of CLK 2024-23 titled Road Allowances in Northumberland County Forest, listed as item 6.5 enclosed of the agenda, only insofar as the report in today's discussion involves ATV use in the trails, regarding which I would have to disqualify interest at the result of my association with the Northumberland District ATV Riders Club. If a discussion turns to ATV use in the trails, which is not anticipated, I will remove myself from the closed session meeting on the duration of the discussion.
Okay, thank you. Have you passed that on to the clerk?
Yes, thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Through your Mayor Logo, I'd like to declare pecuniary interest. It has to do with part of 6.3 and 6.4 of the closed agenda, and it has to do with the usual litigation with the library board. I'll pass that on to Madam Clerk at this time.
Thank you. Any other declarations? Seeing none, we'll move on. Approval of the minutes. And the minutes are from our regular council meeting of July 23rd, 2024, as well as a special council meeting held on July 30th, 2024. And the recommended resolution is that the minutes of the council meeting held on July 23rd, 2024 and July 30th, 2024 be adopted. Could I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Booth, second by Councillor Ainsworth. Are there any discussions? Mary Catherine?
I'd just like to clarify the wording slightly on the motion that was related to the feasibility study for the Haldeman Memorial Center. And I would like it to read conceptual designs for 3 options. So it currently reads 3 conceptual designs. I know it's we want to have options brought forward, and I want that word in there if I can. And it was part of our discussion at the time.
You have a comment? Ms. Clerk?
If we can just get a motion to make an amendment to that, and then council can take a look at that.
Okay.
They want to just provide direction to make that amendment, and then we'll make that revision in the notes.
Mary Catherine's made a motion that this be changed.
Right.
Can I get a seconder? Second by Greg. Go ahead, Mike.
Could we have that motion read again? What we're going to put in there?
It's,
We will as soon as we have it prepared.
Mayor Logal as well, if Councillor O'Neill could give us the number that she's speaking about in the agenda item.
Okay,
it's item 10.1, but it shows up on page 12 of our agenda package. Sorry,
oh,
is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. So it's resolution 2024-07-23-12. And at the end, to change 3 conceptual designs to conceptual designs for 3 options.
Okay, so through you, Mr. Mayor, so we have just a motion to get the minutes amended to read that resolution number 2024-07-23-12 to read conceptual designs for 3 options. Is that correct, Councillor O'Neill? Okay, and that was moved by Councillor O'Neill and seconded by Councillor Booth. So if Council, I'll let you call the vote on that, and then we'll move the minutes as amended.
okay. So it's been moved that we change the minutes to exactly what Madam Clerk recommended. And it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? That motion's carried. Any other changes to the minutes? Seeing none? Any business arising from those minutes? I better go back and we'll get approval of the minutes of the July 30th, 2024 and July 30th, 2024 be adopted as amended. Okay. All in favor? Motion's carried. Business arising from the previous minutes? Seeing none. Delegations and presentations, and today we do have a delegation. And it's being presented by Miss Aird and Miss Booker. So if you are in attendance, please come to the front. Welcome, ladies. And I'll just go over a few of the rules on the delegation. They're up to 10 minutes that you're allowed to speak. After that, council will have 5 minutes to ask any questions we have regarding your delegation. And then we'll proceed. So, yeah. You'll have to use the microphone. It's on.
Good morning. My name's Anya Booker. Thank you for this opportunity to present before council. Regarding presentations of residents' concern related to attending and addressing a council meetings and the erosion of our democratic.
There's a gentleman that can't.
Does this work?
I wonder if can she sit at the side? Would that be better? Because I know that the voice projection, if she sits at the side, might be an option.
Give it a test first. Try it again.
Testing, testing. Is that better?
Okay. Yep.
Okay, I'll start again. So regarding the presentation of the residents' concerns related to attending and addressing council meetings and the erosion of our democratic rights as a delegation in Alnwick-Haldeman Township. We are writing to request that the Township of Alnwick-Haldeman, the township, remove restrictions on residents' ability to speak at council meetings, and allot residents the same time limit as afforded to staff. The residents of township are being denied full access to their democratically elected representatives on town council. The bylaws that place restrictions on residents' ability to speak also limit residents' ability to participate fully in democratic decision-making processes in the township council. When debate is restricted or prohibited on important issues, residents' right to fully informed consent is restricted. For example, the names of those serving on council committees are not readily available, making it difficult for residents to bring concerns to the attention of the elected members. Finally, council's ad hoc and frequent use of in-camera meetings where discussions and decision-making are hidden from the public view and future scrutiny lack the transparency residents require in order to understand, challenge, or stay informed on new laws and governance. I will now hand this over to Ingrid Aird, who will continue from here.
We also note that council has recently introduced a more limited number of council meetings, from 3 per month to 2 per month. In addition, the recent shift from evening to morning meetings has further limited the democratic process and the ability of residents to participate in decision-making processes. Council decisions have major impacts on residents' standard of living, property rights, and democratic way of life. It is more vital than ever that residents be afforded the opportunity to participate in a democratic process over decisions that affect the economic and social stability of both rural and urban municipalities areas. In reviewing similar bylaws of other municipalities in Northumberland County, we identify the residents of Cobourg are allowed to speak at council meetings without advance notice. Residents request the same fundamental rights to address matters of concern to council members as is afforded to Cobourg residents. Please see attached the chart that was submitted demonstrating the difference between both townships. To address the issues outlined above, this delegation proposes that council amend the township procedural bylaw. Making changes to bylaws, it's a simple matter of making a motion, having it seconded, and approving it in an open council meeting. Point 1, deleting the following sections of bylaws, section 11.1 through 11.8. Point 2, adopting corporate procedural bylaw numbered 009-2019, subsections 14.0, 15.0, 16.0, 17.0, and 26.0. Point 3, return to evening for regular council meetings as 3 council meetings per month rather than current 2 meetings per month. Point 4, adopt clear and justifiable criteria for the in-use camera meetings of council. Point 5, all speakers be allotted a minimum of 10 minutes of greater by a majority decision of council. Point 6, rejections of requests to speak can only be made by unanimous council decision. It is our request that council respond to this submission with support. We respectfully ask that council's decision be communicated in writing within 30 days of the submission. If no amendments are made to limit anyone's rights to speak a democratically elected council, it is unfair, unjust, undemocratic, in a contravention to our Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Section 3. I'm gonna just pass it on to Anya.
We have reviewed the council minutes from January 1st, 2022 to present. January 1st, 22nd through to February 23rd, 2023, meetings were held on Thursdays at 12:30. Then March 7th, 2023 to October 3rd, 2003, meetings were changed to Tuesdays at 12:30 p.m. with the exception of March 21st, April 18th, June 20th, and July 18th and September 19th, 2023. They were held in the evenings on Tuesday at 6 p.m. October 24th, 2023 to present, meetings were being held on Tuesdays at 9:30 a.m. with the exception of December 2023 held on a Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Due to all these meeting fluctuations, it's difficult to attend. We would like evening meetings to be brought back because many people work during the day and cannot attend. In the past, since 2020 to current, there has been only 6 evening meetings that were held. If attendance to council meetings were lacking, it would be due to the rigid rules and restrictions to speak.
And I have an example for that, not being aware of how the meetings work. I came to one meeting one time and I was asking questions and I was told I was out of order and I was basically asked to leave. And I didn't know how the procedure was. So I'm speaking from experience. And this is all we have to say, but we are very concerned. We're residents of our township. We're very concerned and we would like to have a voice and we like to be heard and we like to be respected and we like to be taken into consideration of what we have to say.
The rules also state that there is no applauding or noise to be brought from the podium. That's the rules.
Yeah, that's the rule. I don't see a hammer and second over there. Yeah, there is. We're ready to flag for democracy.
Council, do you have any questions? Go ahead, Mike.
Through you, Mayor. Thanks, ladies, for bringing this and the public for coming to this. Obviously, it's important. And I just want to say that this is something that we have talked about before in council, maybe, in past meetings about maybe 5 minutes prior to the meetings or something, depending on how many people were here. Obviously, the public and these ladies would have to respect the fact that if we had this amount of people here coming in and doing 10-minute meetings, that we'd be here for 2 days kind of thing. So meetings are long. And we tried the night meetings, no one came. We tried different times and no one came.
Mike,
So-
you have a question?
Yeah, I'm just more of an observation. And although I do support it, I think this would take some time to put together properly.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Again, I'd just like to reiterate that I appreciate that there are so many people here today, and it would be wonderful to have more people involved in a regular basis with us. And I personally believe that committees are our opportunity to have open discussions, and that was raised within this. And we are in the midst of our strategic plan, and communication is definitely part of that. So this is an issue that is live for us, and I will be I made some notes here beyond what I read before. So, okay, thank you.
Mayor Logal.
Yes.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. Really appreciate your involvement. It's nice that this group is listening. What would be the next steps in having, I wouldn't suggest a 10-minute resident to speak before on an agenda item. What would be the process of putting that in place?
I'm going to pass that on to our clerk.
Thank you.
So through you, Mayor Logal, we do have it slated for a 2025 project to review the procedural bylaws. So that is something that is on our radar and something that we are looking to do. It is a very public process to review that. So we would be going up for public comment on anything that we would have coming forward. In answer to your question, Deputy Mayor, the process, that'd be one one option that we would pursue and look at when we're going through and looking at what would be the best fit for the meetings of our municipal type as well as size. So that would be one thing that we would bring forward as a recommendation if it was deemed to be the best fit forward. But again, there are some other options out there that we could consider during the process as well.
Thank you. Just one other question as well, or observation. When we are looking at our budget moving forward for our 2025 budget deliberations, one of the things that we're always trying to do is make more, get more bang for our buck. And when we look at night meetings as opposed to day meetings, the difference in the cost sometimes dictates how we do business. And we have to balance that with being open and transparent with our community. So that would be something else moving forward. Would that be possible to look at the price of doing night meetings as opposed to day meetings?
I'm not sure if that can be certainly considered. But it's not really has nothing to do with the presentation.
Well, I think if I may, every suggestion sometimes has a financial component to it. And that dictates how much we get going for our money, sort of thing. So that would be my only comments. Thank
Is that the
you.
money we can use for taxes?
Yeah.
This is a presentation of delegation by people that are representing you. We want to hear what they have to say. We are not open for open discussion at this meeting. Any other questions from council or comments?
Mayor Logo, may I address you?
Sure.
In responding to Deputy Mayor John Stover, her point does have merit because we are requesting to have a meeting in the evenings versus morning, and indicating that looking at the budget and what it costs and do a comparison and something that could be shared with the community and then make us be part of that decision making. That's what we're asking, having a voice. In point of, sorry, I have to stand because I can't see his name. Councillor Mike Ainsworth comment about the meetings going from evenings to mornings. I believe that you had asked about if you gave everybody a longer than 10 minutes, you'd be here forever, basically. And I would like to say that I disagree with that statement because limiting the time to minutes suggests that our taxpayers and residents who wish to speak to council lack courtesy and common sense. And I don't believe that we lack courtesy or common sense. And I also believe that the mayor Logo can also indicate when it has gone out of topic or out of time. So the same courtesy is extended to your councillors, the mayor, and the residents.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm going to read the resolution. That the minutes, that the delegation from Miss Aird and Miss Brooker, residents regarding public participation at council meetings be received for information. Can I get a mover in a second? Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Councillor Booth. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That motion is carried. Ladies, thank you very much for your presentation. And I believe staff will be looking into it further.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Next, we're moving on to committee reports. And we have two. You're welcome. Okay, we're going to move on to committee reports. And we have two committee reports. And I'll read the resolution and then we'll answer any questions or thoughts that you may have. That the agenda items 8.2 and 8.3 on the September 10th, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be received for information. The first one is the Grafton Water User Advisory Committee meetings of July 24th, 2024, and the Lower Trent Conservation Authority minutes of July 7th, 2024. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councilor Ainsworth, second by Deputy Mayor Stover. Any comments, questions regarding these two reports? Go ahead.
Through your Mayor Logo, I'm not just sure if for the next meeting, we want to correct this to October. Forgive me, I haven't got that date in front of me for the next meeting.
This is the water.
For the water committee.
Are you saying the date has been?
Yeah, the date has been changed and I think it, Dr. Bruce, have you got the date for the next meeting?
October 3rd, I want to say. October 2nd,
October 2nd, good. Thank
Wednesday,
you.
October 2nd at 3:00.
Okay, thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Go ahead, Mayor Catherine.
The water modeling study, I see the closing date was August 15th. Is that then going to be taken to the committee on the October meeting before bringing it to council? Is that the idea?
Go ahead, CAO.
Through you, Mayor Logo, Councillor O'Neill, in discussion with Councillor Booth, who is the chair of the Water Committee. The RFP is complete. He did not see any reason why it needed to come to the committee in our last conversation last week. So my plan is to have it on next council's meeting for approval.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor? Motions is carried. Fire department report, we have none today. Building and planning department reports, none. Public Works Department, we have 4 reports. And the first one is Baxter Road speed limit reduction and signage. And who's going to take us through this, CAO?
I can give it over.
Does anybody need an overview?
It's
Pretty
pretty
clear in
straightforward.
the minutes.
Pretty clear.
Everybody's okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll read the resolution. That council received report PW 2024-05 for Baxter Road speed limit reduction and signage for information, and that the council directs staff to publish notice of the proposed speed reduction on Baxter Road from 80 kilometers an hour assumed to 50 kilometers an hour on the municipal website and prepare a bylaw for presentation at the October 8th, 2024 council meeting. And that staff be directed to post the appropriate signs in this area. Can I get moving and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Further discussion? All in favor? That motion's carried. Next is item 11.2, and it's proposal for 2024 Public Works Service Delivery. It is recommended that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Elm, Haldeman enact as follows: that the council receive report PW 2024 proposal for 2024 Public Works Service Delivery for information, and that council authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement with 4 Roads Management for a Public Works Service Delivery review for a value of $18,300 plus HST. Can I get moving a seconder? Moved by Councillor Ainsworth. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Booth.
Oh, thank you, Worship, through you. I like the gist of this. I guess my question would be, it's talking about a cost of $18,300. So was there an RFP put out for this or a tender? Or was this just through discussions with for roads management services.
Thank you. CAO?
Through you, Mayor, Councillor Booth, according to our procurement bylaw, an RFP and tender is not required under the amount of 25. And therefore this fit the currently existing bylaw. So it was a conversation with the executive director from Good Roads and recommendation from them. This gentleman is one of their instructors and has an extremely lengthy reputation within this industry. Staff met at Public Works and figured this was a really good opportunity, as this is something that has never been done for this township. So there was a concern, not so much a concern, but understanding what it is that we should be doing with respect to road maintenance by today's standards, understanding what time our snow plows should be starting, what time our road super should be out there and looking at the roads in the morning before calling crews out. There's been a lot of questions from the residents over the years as to when snow plows have come by their driveways, etc. So this review would go through everything and hand us a really good document to which our department could follow for the service delivery to the residents.
Thank you, CAO. Follow up, Greg?
Yeah, I agree with your, assessment of it is a good report, and that I guess my concern is this is not a budgeted item for this year. And I would prefer to see, if we're going to be doing studies like this, that it come back at budget time so that we could look at this. And I do know you say that, yes, when you do read the purchasing bylaw, technically it doesn't have to, but I also read the purchasing bylaw 2.1.4, which says there's an open, fair, and transparent procurement that affords equal access to all qualified suppliers. So to me, if there's been conversations with yourself or whoever, whatever companies, I just think it's fair that if it's a budgeted item in the future, that we offer this as an RFP to anybody that can bid in for it. And if this company, Mr. CAO, is as good as you say or whatever, then even if he's the highest or lowest or whatever, you could still come to us and we could decide that at council. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Through you, Mayor Logo, to our Chief Administrative Officer. Are there many companies out there doing this type of work?
Through you, Mayor, to this capacity and to this level, my understanding through my conversations that no, there is not. I am sure that there are many companies that probably offer similar, but to this level of expertise, I'm not sure. Mayor, I do have one question to the clerk. If understanding Councillor Booth's point about the procurement bylaw, would we need to change the bylaw to recognize that with respect to the dollar amounts? Meaning that this is under 25, so should we be going to tender an RFP, and should our procurement bylaw change to recognize it?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's something that we would have to look at in more detail as part of the broader procurement bylaw review that was slated to take place as well.
Thank you.
Mayor Logo, the only other question I would have would be, because this has to do with the snow plowing and which we are getting into the busier season. If it was to go to an RFP, what would be what kind of a delay are we looking at to make sure that we're going to have this done before the snow flies?
Thank you. I'm not sure if that's the intent, but CAO, do you have a comment?
The only thing I can tell you is the department will continue to do the best they can, given the information that they have.
Thank you.
Mary Catherine?
I have a couple of things about how would this fit into other things that we're working on. And
Well, we're discussing this, so is it anything to do with this?
it absolutely is. So how would this fit in with our search for a new public works manager, and what would that person bring versus what we're going to learn in this study? And the second part I would like to know is why we're recommending this piece rather than a broader operational audit that's going to look at the township as a whole.
You have a comment, CAO?
Through your mayor, Councillor Neil. So first of all, this review and our reviews is an operation review specific to the department or what falls under Public Works. As far as a review of the entire township, I do believe that's been discussed with council on a couple different occasions, but it really didn't get any traction. So this came forward because we have been absent a Public Works manager. And in conversation and research, different municipalities are looking at different options moving forward. So trying to find the most effective and efficient delivery of service and the use of people, be it in a manager's position, coordinator, lead hand, laborer, whatever that might be. So this document would actually point us in the right direction. And would identify in today's terms what we should be doing moving forward. That is the reason staff looked at it and brought it to council for discussion.
Thank you. Follow up?
Yes, I had a slightly different understanding of what happened with the previous operational review, and I was one of the counselors that said, I want this to be broader. So again, this is another report, and in both instances, I'm saying I would like to see a broader where we're looking at it as a whole rather than as pieces. I do understand what you're saying about the department because it is our largest department and it does need to be well run.
Thank you. Further, Mike?
To you, Mayor, more of a comment, really. I think as we move into our term of council, we're asking staff to make our township more professional. And this is one of the steps that we need to take. And I agree, there's certain things we have to departmentalize, and there's certain things that we can look at a broader outlook for the whole department, but this is necessarily for the roads and the roads department. I think this is a good start. Giving how we end up with the RFP is one thing, but I think this is a step at us asking staff to make this township more professional.
Thank you. Further comments? I think we've heard from everyone. I guess I'll throw my 2 cents in for what it's worth. I am concerned about our Public Works. We haven't had a manager there full time for over a year now. And the fellows are doing a great job, and they're doing the best they can, but we are not thinking of the future. And whether we decide to go with this proposal or some change, we definitely need to have the department analyzed and see if we're, first of all, following the standards, because there are minimum maintenance standards for all the roads. And I don't know if we know for sure what we're doing there. And we've got a good team there, but we just got to make sure that they're producing professionally, that they are getting the proper training. I'm not convinced that the training is as much as it needs to be, but that's my thoughts. So I'm ready to call a vote. I'll read the. Did I read the? Yeah, I'll read it again. The council received report 2024. Okay, no. It is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Val-McCullough receive report PW 2024 proposal for 2024 public works service delivery for information, and that council authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement with 4 Roads Management for a public works survey delivery review for a value of $18,300. It was moved by Councillor Ainsworth and seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. All in favor? Oh,
Can I ask for a recorded vote, please?
yes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we've had a request for a recorded vote from Councillor Booth. So members of council, when I call your name, if you could please answer yay or nay as to how you'd like to vote. Councillor Booth,
No.
Councillor Ainsworth,
Yes.
Counselor O'Neill,
No.
Deputy Mayor Stover,
Yes.
Mayor Logo.
Yes.
The vote is, motion is carried.
Next, item on the agenda is the Centerton Sand Dome. It is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Alma Cullivan enact as follows. That the council receive report PW 2024-06, the Centerton Sand Dome for information, and that council approve the demolition of the existing sand dome by public works staff, and that staff be authorized to issue a tender in accordance with the township procurement bylaw for the purchase and installation of 150 by 100 foot coverall structure and the required concrete foundation for the structure. Could I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Councillor Booth. Dave, the report was pretty clear to me, but if you like, we can have the CAO address any of your questions or concerns. Go ahead, Councillor O'Neill.
I'm just wondering if you could give me some examples of where this type of sand dome has been used and what their experience has been.
Sure. Thank you, Councillor O'Neill. Through you, Mayor Logo. 407 is a prime example. Right at Brock Road at 407, there's a new massive tarp structure. There are other municipalities looking at doing the same thing because of the cost savings. When we look at the cost of replacing the sand dome, it's pretty well known that the same size or type of structure is not required by today's standards, and that we could look at some efficient ways of being able to store our sand and salt. Mostly that it just needs to be out of the elements, rains and snow, and that we can do it for a much lesser cost. So what your roads department staff has identified that they could do the majority of the construction themselves, meaning that mostly the demolition of the collapsing sand dome that is there now and the removal of the old concrete. And then we could go out through the procurement process to find someone that would be able to pour the concrete for us and build the walls. And then also to procure a company that could install a tent structure over top of this. So it's a multi-step process, all of which identifies coming back to council for approval at each phase, but by allowing your existing staff to do the work to save the township money. The thought is that if we were to go out for full tender or RFP for this entire project, that you would be paying some management fees and additional profit as opposed to having your existing staff do it.
Correct me if I'm wrong too, just to respond to that comment from the Councillor O'Neill. Doesn't the Grafton Public Works building on the 401, don't they have covers similar to what you're suggesting?
So the MTO yard has a steel covered structure that is open at both ends that they use for a multitude of things, whether it's equipment storage or sand and salt, etc. So
and we use that by time to supply out of Grafton?
We do use it, yeah.
Not on by time, but all the time. That's where anything from the south, that's where the sand is put and taken from that facility.
Good plan.
Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Mike.
Through you, Mayor. So a couple of things come to mind from different discussions that we've had. I'm just kind of wondering, like, if we can hold off on this one for the 2025 budget. And for reasons that, I would assume that we probably fill our domes at least once or probably twice a year in most cases. And we have one in Centerton and we share the one here at the MTO Road and 401. And we do have a loader there that we also share at the MTO. For instance, if we had to fill the domes up 3 times a year to get by this year and put this on 2025 budget, would that make more sense at this time and still be able to get our things done in the winter time as usual?
You want to comment on that?
So that's a good question. Through your mayor, Councillor Ainsworth. So just to clarify, we share services with the county, but we use the MTO yard. So it's not really with the MTO.
Okay.
So 1 year, the township pays the rental on the loader that sits there. And another year, the county pays for the loader. So it's a trade. Consider it 50-50. The risk that you run with keeping sand and salt in Roseneath and sand and salt in Grafton and not in Centerton is that then your trucks are running further all the way to the north and all the way to the south to load. So you're going to end up with a lot more runtime. So to figure out what that cost is going to be, you can imagine that it will then be fuel, time machine, employees' time, etc. So it really starts to elevate quite a bit. The reason the municipality has kept sand in all 3 locations is because there are approximately 450 kilometers of road to cover. And it's a significant job. So we have thought about it. There has been discussion at the public works level that what if we absolutely have to do this? We would absolutely have to do it. We would not have any other choice. It's service delivery, and it would just then delay or involve a lot more times.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Through your mayor logo, I'm just looking at the legal ramifications if this doesn't go through. And that is the collapse of the building due to the state of the building. Has that been closed off? Like people aren't going in that at this moment?
Through your mayor. So yes, it has been. It's fenced off and taped off. That staff do not go in there. We will have to we'll have to get in there to get the sand and salt out that was left from last year, which is a significant amount due to the weather that we did have, or the good weather that we did have, which is a great cost savings. But we're going to have to move what is there to Grafton and to Roseneath. It's all part of the process.
Through your mayor logo, just the second part, we wouldn't be able to meet our minimum maintenance standards. So when I'm looking at it, now's the time to do it instead of next year, because we could be dealing with other issues as well. So I really look at the legal part of this and the standards and the working conditions for the employees. That would be it. Thank you.
How, if I can, how will you be able to maintain a safety, Dave, and going in there when it's closed?
So it's all risk. So shoring up and or making sure not to disturb certain areas may need to be done. There also it may need to go with partially tearing the building down as well to then to be able to access. So just for clarity to the audience, there's one side of the building down low that is collapsed in, and the other top half part is collapsed in as well. It's a wood structure, so it is resting on itself, and the way a sand dome is built is that there are contradicting forces that support it also. To take it apart is a specific task as well, but all stuff that the staff, the roads department would have to tackle.
If I can, why are we going to your proposal versus a sand dome?
Well, that's a decision of council. Your public works staff has made this recommendation, and if council likes the idea, they can go for it and have staff do it. If they don't, then I can go back to staff and say, okay, council prefers a sand dome, and then we would have to develop RFP and tender to figure that out. What we're bringing forward is what we figure is the best cost saving measure for the ratepayers, and to achieve the best for the roads department.
Thank you. You've answered that question whether you realize it or not. Because I think it hasn't a lot to do with cost.
That has everything to do with cost.
And if I can recall, and I can't recall for sure, but I think that that particular sand dome had the roof replaced in the last, I'm going to say 5 years. And I think it was the cost to do that was probably the same price that you're quoting on for the entire job. Go ahead, Councillor Booth.
Through your worship, I support this recommendation because there was a company, just so the public knows, went in and inspected the Sand Dome, and it's not safe. It's going to collapse. So we've got our money's worth out of it, and the issue is, what are we going to do? I would normally say we would wait if we could, but to me, it's like a homeowner. If your roof's leaking and you got water coming in, you got to do something about it. So I like the way that you're doing this, Dave, that we're going to have our staff do it and we're going to save money. And we don't need the big expensive sand dome like they have anymore. We're going to go with something a little bit different. And we have to decide quickly because they have to get that sand and salt out of there and get this built so that we can have it ready. So usually I like things more in order and it come at budget time and everything. But to me, this is something that has come up through, it's sort of like an emergency purchase and it has to be done, not only for the safety of staff, but it's going to be better for all of the residents that if they can get the sand and salt out of Centerton. So I think it's a good idea. Although I don't like spending the money, but.
Mike, you have a final comment?
Yes, through you, Mayor. Yeah, no, the price is significantly lower, and that's great to have these options. 750,000 versus 165,000. So a big cost savings. The demolition of the dome. I just with doing that with our own guys, and I'm concerned about training and safety. So do we have any kind of procedure that's been given to them, or have they been showed how to take this thing down properly? And
go ahead, CAO.
Through you, Mayor, Councillor Ainsworth. Yes, the gentleman that was responsible and that works for the company that originally built the sand dome was in and provided that direction. Should it be used?
okay, good. Thanks.
Mary Catherine?
Do we know the timeline of how long this is anticipated, the lifespan of this option?
Are you referring to, sorry, through you, Mayor, are you referring to the coverall?
Yes.
No, that would be part of the tendering process to understand warranties, lifespan, et cetera. What we know is that the construction materials and the assembly of a coverall spanned structure is far cheaper than a steel structure or a steel roof structure, et cetera. So there are different lifespans with different materials, and we would work towards what would be the most affordable given our current situation.
Follow up?
Just that affordable can be cost over time. So that was my question about lifespan.
If I may, Councillor, if I may, to Council, Mayor.
Thank you.
The idea of this is to bring back those decisions to Council, to put them in front of this Council so that we can decide what is the best way forward based on recommendations provided to us by the experts.
Councillor Ainsworth?
Yeah, through Mayor, just to clarify, so the money for this project will come out of reserves?
Go ahead.
Through Mayor. So yes, existing, it would have to come out of reserves.
Okay.
We were identifying, or it was identified many months ago, that we have a problem. And so having had many discussions about it with the staff, that we decided that this was the best way forward to bring to Council before we've done anything and moved in any direction.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll read as it has been a while since I read it, so I'll read it again. The council approved the demolition of the existing sand dome by Public Works staff, and that staff be authorized to issue a tender in accordance with the township procurement bylaw for the purchase and installation of 150 by 100 foot coverall structure and the required concrete foundation for the structure. Moved and second, I believe it was moved by Councillor Booth and second by Councillor Ainsworth. Oh, pardon me, Councillor Ainsworth and Councillor Booth. All in favor? Motion is carried. Yes. Okay. We'll continue on. Our next one is the roads need study. This was completed by Jewel Engineering, I believe. And it is recommended the council of the township of Alma Calderman, the council received report PW 202407, the roads need study 2024 for information. Could I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Booth. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Discussion. Go ahead, Councillor Booth.
Through you, your worship, I'm glad to see that this study is finally done, and this is really going to help us out when it comes to budget time for next year, that we can now look at this and it's going to tell us which roads have to be done first. So we have a plan for the next 5 years. So I'm glad it's done. Thank you.
Further comments? Go ahead, Councillor O'Neill.
Yes, I'm also pleased to see this report make it to us. It's been a long time coming. It, as Councillor Booth said, is going to be instrumental in budget, and it certainly has some large numbers in there that we're going to have to address. The other thing that sort of stood out for me was the need for council to look at the service levels for class 7, 8, and 9 roads, given the identification of the needs in those roads in the short term.
Thank you. Councillor, pardon me, Deputy Mayor Stover.
Through your Mayor Logo, I concur with the comments that have been made. I want to print this off and just keep it handy because it's really quite an education when you're going through not only our township, but other townships and looking at the different classifications. And the other thing that came to mind is, do we have an annual traffic counting program going to be initiated at all within this year or next year?
Thank you. I don't know.
At the county.
No, at the township level, the road count.
Yeah, they talked about the counting level and that there's usually an annual traffic counting, and I thought that was a great idea. I just wondered, I don't think I've noticed it before.
I don't believe it's through you, Mayor. I don't believe I have either, but I would have to ask the staff on that. I do know that every time we put up the black cats or the radar equipment that residents see around the township, it does do a count at that time.
Maybe we
So
already got the data.
we have had the conversation that when a road gets turned from gravel to tar and chip or to pavement, that it needs to meet a certain threshold. Our understanding is through the needs study and through the review that we've asked for, that it will put us on par with completely understanding all of those numbers.
Mayor Logo as well, just to follow up, not for this council, but when you're sitting at county council, it would be interesting to have a road count, a traffic count for Highway 2, considering the subdivisions that are being planned for this area. So that would be good if you could bring that forward.
I'm sure that they have that information today. But that might be a couple of years old, but it still would give you a pretty good idea of where we
I
are.
think there's been a big change in the last year.
I agree with you. I agree.
Thanks.
And they made reference to it and I'll just mention it too. They made reference in the 2024 road study that they used the information from the 2015 or 16 study to determine the road. But I'm not absolutely sure that was, I don't believe that was done in 2015 either. So they're taking information from, I don't know where back.
I haven't noticed anything here, and that would certainly dictate crosswalks, that sort of thing moving forward.
Yeah, I'm talking more, Joan, about the township roads, not the
thank
county
you.
ones, but the
Okay.
township ones. Go ahead.
I concur. It did come up that the traffic count is something that's missing in this evaluation. And one other thing that's changed, even if we did have accurate numbers from 2016, is the number of deliveries and online ordering, because on my road, I now have more delivery trucks and vans going up and down the road than there are other users. So that's a big change in the last 10 years.
really what we're doing is surmising and everything else. We really need to get data. to make
Yeah, that's right.
Decisions.
Exactly.
And then my only other comment, I think, this should go to coordinators meeting to have more discussion. on those certain
Good
stuff.
point.
So, and perhaps a recommendation will come back from that group. So, all in favor? Motion is carried. Parks and Recreation and Facilities Department report. We don't have a report, and I assume that now that we have a person hired to do that position. When does he start? Not for another week or so? 16th. Well, that's get pretty close. So will we see more of those in the future? Treasury Department reports. I understand that you are making some headway with personnel changes because we are short of a treasurer and we're going to have to move some of our staff until we can get one. Is that correct? Administration reports.
Sorry,
Go ahead, Greg.
I'm just wondering through you, your worship, to the CEO, when could we expect a financial report and a variance report from the treasurer, the acting treasurer?
Go ahead,
To your
CEO.
Mayor, Councillor Booth, our plan is to have that before you, either the special meeting that we're having for strategic plan and or the very next council meeting at the end of September.
Okay, thank you.
So that's just so I understand, that's either next week from today or 2 weeks from today.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Aaron is working on.
thank you. Administrative reports. We have the Grafton Municipal Office Visual Structural Review. It is recommended that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Allen McCullough act as follows: that the council receive report CAO 2024-18, the Grafton Municipal Office Visual Structural Review for information. You might want to lead us a little bit through this, Dave, if you want, because it is pretty complicated.
Thank you, Mayor Logo. Through you to council. So what happened, what got this started was health and safety inquiry with respect to this floor opening up last winter to a gap of about an inch to 1.25 inches. From there, it went to bringing a report to council, asking if we could start with a visual structural review, which to our understanding was the place that we needed to start. At that point, it was identified that if we were to go more into an actual structural review, that the engineers would have to actually get into the walls and manipulate drywall, manipulate floor coverings downstairs to see the floor, etc. So that's why we started with a visual, because if we go to an actual structural review, we will need to move staff because you will not be able to remain in the same building with the age of the building, with the identified potential of leads in paint, dust, and asbestos. So it just meant that we would need to move staff. That's staff safety. The other part about a more involved structural review is the insurance of maintaining customer service and being open for residents. So that is why we went to that. So with the review that came back, that is here before council for your review, is to identify that there are some significant concerns with regards to the building. The last renovation was done, I believe, in 1991. And for us to move forward either with a more involved structural review or identifying what we need to do with respect to a municipal building, it needs to come before council for consideration for a period of time. And staff have made recommendation that you receive this for information. You consider it for the next, we did 30 days, so that staff would come back to council and identify some potential options for maintaining customer service, for maintaining our staff a good working environment. So that is really the gist of where we got to today. And the recommendation through the company is depending on what you might want to do with this building, it would involve some more studies.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions or comments? Not to debate, but strictly to Dave on his report.
Well, it's actually to you, Mayor Logo. What is our long-term plan for these offices? Should they remain in this building? It's awkward as it is, but whether or not they should remain in this building, or should we be looking at including that in a new build, which has been a suggestion brought in the past at the current arena facility? Those types of things, and what will be involved in both options. And so this is long-term thinking. What do we see as council? How do we see our offices and service levels? That's, to my mind, the question before us, and we need to make that decision of what we want to do and have that discussion. So
I agree with you 100%. But until we get the information and the data to support any of those, we can't move ahead. Go ahead.
Your answer sounds a little bit like a dog chasing its tail.
How would you suggest that?
I think we need to have our discussion, and we do have a strategic plan before us. We could, in fact, have it at another type of venue where we're specifically having this discussion. But what is our long-term plan for this building? How do we envision it being part of what's happening in the future? Because that could, if this was in fact more a history library community building and we had new offices over there, that's a completely different road we'd be going down. So deciding where we want staff to end and what it's going to look like 5 and 10 years down the road is indeed our job as councillors to be looking down the road and deciding that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Through your mayor, Councillor O'Neill. So all of that has been part of the conversations. We obviously have a significant historic value with respect to this building for the community. There have been many different arguments back and forth as to dating back to amalgamation. Should the municipal offices be in the center of the community or the municipality? I think when you start tipping into the scales of operational review and feasibility study, needs assessment, all of those things with respect to different buildings and different operations with regards to municipal business, I would suggest that probably looking to a company or to somebody to do that review to see what is the best service need or value that we can offer our residents. So that has been part of the conversation. So today was merely to bring the report to you to identify the news, and then to give a good solid month to consider, because there'll be lots of chatter from this, right? And then staff bring back to council some opportunities. So when we break it down, number one is we need to do something before the winter. When you look at the building and the existing brick fall that's coming off of it, you look at the gap in the floor that gets spread when the building dries out. You look at the leak that's happening here and the difficulty with animals we've had in the roof and so on and so forth, and the other annex building with the slope in the floor, and it's all identified in the report. Number one, we need to ensure service delivery for the residents. So we need to move staff. Where that's going to be, I have no idea, but we have to look at it and we have to bring those options and opportunities to council in an open meeting. And then what we need to do is say, okay, after we've done that and we've maintained service delivery, then we need to look at the building and more decisions need to be made. But it's very step by step in every part is my suggestion. I don't believe this is anything we can run at.
Thank you. We follow up, Mary Catherine.
Right. So I've just listened to something that's going to be a multi-million-dollar decision. To my mind, we're not fixing this building to the standards that it would need to be fixed without it exceeding $1 million. So this is a huge decision that we are looking at. And yes, I understand what you're saying about the steps, but it is something that it has to fit into the big picture, which again brings me back to my operational audit where we're looking at this as part of the whole, because when we get all these pieces coming and it not feeling like it's cohesive, it's very hard. And we've got other things that have come up at other
Okay,
meetings
we're
that
getting way off the
it's
subject.
not, because
Yes, it
the
is.
financial implications are
Well, I know
central.
the financials are, I agree with you 100%, but that is not what we're discussing. We're discussing the recommendation from our staff that we review the building and do a good study. And I'm not going to make it, or I don't think we should ask council to make any type of decision until they have those facts and data. And we all know that a year ago, our previous staff asked us to do a study on this building and we didn't do it. So we're not getting that from just this group. We're getting it from the previous group. They're saying that we need to do a study. And I don't know how we can make a decision without doing that study. Go ahead, Councillor Booth.
Through you, your worship, I understand your concerns, Mary Catherine, and I agree with them. Reading this report, there's some pretty serious things they're talking about the slope of the floor and that. I guess the first thing that I would do, looking at it as if you were just a homeowner, is we do need to have a company come in here and do an invasive thing where they open up the walls and they see where the structure is and this and that and come back to us and tell us, is this something that's going to cost us $1 million or is this something that's just going to cost us $20,000 or $30,000 to fix? And then when we get that report, we can make a better decision to say whether or not we should be moving staff out or what. I mean, I look at it, I've worked in a lot of places where they've had renovations where you could move the staff up here when you're doing invasive things downstairs to cut open things, or you could move staff around to different buildings. But until we know what's going on and what we're going to spend here, we can't really decide whether we're going to put offices somewhere else. So I guess my concern is, going back to this, it says the obvious next step would be to have Pynchon or another qualified company. So I'm just going to reiterate again that I feel that that's an RFP that should be out and fair to every company to put in for that to come and do a qualified inspection with I guess it's an engineer or whatever that comes in and takes a look at this building and gives us, where we go from here. Because until we find out what's wrong with this building, there's no use in talking about where we're going.
Thank you. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
I'm listening to, through your Mayor Logo, I'm listening to all the comments. And unfortunately, we are always getting things put forward that we're not planning for, and this is one of them. One of the questions in listening to Councillor Booth is, would it come from Pynchon? Was it his suggestion? I don't think I seen it in here. Was it their suggestion once, if a company was to come in and start going in through the walls to see what the issues are, could staff be in here, especially if you're talking about asbestos and the dust and everything else? So, I mean, maybe they would be a good one to say, look, it's best that the staff get out while this is getting done. So that is paramount. And we have to look at the Employment Standards Act to make sure that staff are going to be placed in a safe environment to do their job. So did we have an idea of what the next costing would be to go to the next step?
Go ahead.
Your Mayor, to Deputy Mayor, no, we don't. So
This was the first
when
step.
when we consider this, we have a liability. We have an old building, right? So whatever those next steps are, whatever it is that we should be doing, what we're looking to do is to reach out to the experts to then advise us, tell us what we should do. With regards to this initial report from a walkthrough, it has identified some serious concerns. All we can do is put a recommendation forward to council, which is all I'm recommending, and council can decide whether they agree to it or not. When you bring up things like health and safety and the Employment Standards Act, your hands are tied to a certain degree. And then you have the other part, which is the massive risk, and that is if you decide to do nothing and something does happen, then who's left holding the bag. So I'm definitely not recommending that we're coming out here spending millions of dollars. All I'm doing is identifying that we have a concern. We sought council's direction to get a review. We did that. And now I'm bringing that review back to council and suggesting that we come back in a month's time to bring what alternatives are if they need to be had,
If they need to be had.
if they need to be had. So that's entirely up to council.
I think we're getting into a little bit of details now. I actually haven't got a mover and a seconder yet, so I'd like to get a mover and a seconder, and then if there's any debate, we can continue with that. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Are there any other further comments? Mayor Kaplan?
Just wondering, we did this spring prove, and it was related to the audit, that there was going to be an inspection, and I believe that inspection will tell us, which I assume we have since our audit's supposed to be coming before us soon, whether or not there was asbestos in the buildings. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Correct.
Right, so that should help inform our decisions.
Anything else? Any further comments? Yes.
Through you, your worship, just I guess one question I have, because it says the obvious next step is to have a company, qualified company, come in and do an overall structural assessment. But then it's saying that staff's going to bring a report October 8th identifying alternate options for relocation. Should we not be waiting until we put the tender out and the company come in here and then tell us whether staff do have to be moved or don't have to be moved, or because we're talking about moving staff, but we don't even have the RFP out for the company to come in. It's possible that even with asbestos now, I know I've seen it where they've cut open walls and that, and as long as they have tarped it all off and it's a negative pressure and HEPA filters and that they can do, you know, certain maneuvers. So I'm just wondering, what's our next step? To me, it would be get a qualified company in here, and then they will tell us how long do the staff have to be moved out, or even if they have to be moved out, I don't know.
Was, if I can, carry that on, was Pynchon ever stated that the staff should leave in their report?
So when you, through your mayor, when you read through the report and the report identifies the potential of collapse and the condition of the building. So as an employer, we have a responsibility to protect our employees. When you have a report that identifies the potential and that is of a significant risk, that we're bringing this to council as what our recommendation is. If council feels that they don't like the recommendation and they don't want us to proceed in that direction, then please defer it and we will take it back and discuss. Other than that, all we're doing is bringing you the information.
Go ahead, Councillor Booth.
But that's what I'm asking, Dave, is what is your recommendation? It just says here to accept it as information, but you've got two things here. You're going to bring us back a report October 8th that says alternate options for the relocation of staff. And you're saying next step would be to have a qualified company come in. So let's move on to getting the qualified company to come in. But that's what I don't understand. You're saying the safety of staff and everything, but you're moving people out without even them coming in and saying whether they have to be moved or not or whatever.
You have a comment?
Through your mayor. So Councillor Booth, I wish to not engage with you. And we could certainly bring this back to coordinators meeting and have that discussion. What we did was bring you the report. The report is what it is. We identified what a couple options are if council wants us to look at it. But if you don't want us to look at it, that's fine too. It's all okay.
Okay. Like, I'm going to read it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. The council received report CAO 2024-18 drafted municipal office visual structural review information. And that's what we've been asked to do. So been moved by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor? That motion is carried. Is there anything else on that one? Done, right?
Well, the report's accepted as whatever. I still think we're sitting in limbo that we're not, we should be saying, there should be a motion that's saying that we have a qualified company come in and take a look at it. October 8th, we're going to be you're going to come to us with possibly moving staff, which is fine. I agree 100%. But we should be looking at, we know that somebody's got to come in here and tell us the condition of this building.
So do you want to make a motion then?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we put out an RFP that a qualified company come in and do an overall structural assessment of the Grafton Municipal Office Building. Because that's right there, that talks about, that's right in there, right? So maybe if you're coming back to us October 8th, Dave, at the same time, we could look at the RFP to say, this is the RFP that we're going to put out that's talking about the structural assessment and everything. And we're doing two things at once instead of waiting to move the staff and then a month later doing an RFP for having a company come in, right? I'm just thinking making things quicker, that's all.
Could I just, I'm not sure of the staff load, but would it be possible to have this for the end of September instead of October 8th or 6th? And the 6th would be.
So through you, Mayor Logal, with the agenda publication deadlines, we would not be able to commit to that.
Okay, thank you.
I guess my only comment to yours,
Sorry.
I'm not sure why it has to come back to council to approve the RFP. I mean, we've got staff here that know what they're doing and that's what they should be putting out. We give them that direction because I don't think we are qualified enough to comment on that.
No, I agree, but we haven't given direction to go and do an RFP. That's what I'm saying. So let's give staff a direction to go and do an RFP. I
agree.
You can do the RFP. I don't have to see it. I'm just saying because of staff limitations from what Emily's saying is you could work on that at the same time so that October 8th, you could come and say, we're going to move the staff and we're going to submit this RFP to have a qualified company come in and do an assessment. I'm just trying to do two things at once, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, we need a seconder for that.
Yeah, my hand was up to second that.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion? We're going to have to get the exact wording, if you don't mind.
Okay, so through you, Mr. Mayor, I have a motion from Councillor Booth, seconded by Councillor O'Neill, which would be for staff to issue an RFP for a qualified company to conduct an engineered assessment of the Grafton Municipal Office.
Yeah, exactly what was in your information here, the exact wording, yeah.
Go ahead, Mayor Catherine.
I do note that there was reference to asbestos in the actions and next steps. I would think it would be appropriate to bring forward what we learned through that assessment for the auditor.
And you're talking about the financial audit.
Right, and we had to do not infrastructure, but anyway, the building assessment. And it was looking at the asbestos issue, which is what I asked earlier in this meeting. And so I believe we have that information and we need to bring that forward.
And just to clarify, that wasn't for this building. That was for all buildings.
Correct.
That the township owns. Yes, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Logal, to council. So I respect that you want to go forward and get an RFP to understand the structure of this building. The reason why I broke it down at the steps I did is because my understanding, I don't have qualified numbers, but the structural review of coming into the building and accessing walls is going to be of significant value, meaning it's going to cost you a lot of money. So that's why I haven't done that yet. I know that we need to, but we also need to look at that responsibly and identify whether that comes back in the 2025 budget or understanding what monies we can get maybe from a Trillium grant or otherwise. So just the point that I bring that back to my main concern. Number one was employees. Number two is service delivery for the residents. Everything else after that is step by step and will unfold in time and when it needs to. So respectfully to Councillor Booth and the other councillors that would like that RFP, we can certainly do the work. And we can certainly bring back what that cost would be. I just wanted to explain the reason I didn't move on to that.
It's a good point.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I think also we probably need to direct staff to do any of the immediate repairs that we need to get done here before the winter. That our CAO has stated, you know, the leaky roof, the you know, putting stuff on our eaves troughs, getting them fixed up, that kind of stuff. But I do question if we do the RFP, what's it going to cost us before we know? So, excuse me, so like it's great to have these ideas to I mean, I love this building and I'm hoping that we can fix it. But at the cost of the taxpayers, we really need to think this one out. This has been handed down to us over multiple councils and staff that have been here that have just neglected this building. And here we are sitting holding the pot. So it has to be fixed. And I think we really need to, this is one of these projects that we really need to take our time and look over and make sure everything's being done right. And we can afford it. You know, taxes come out in our 2025 budget. If we say we need 10 or 12% increase in taxes, well, we're going to hear about that one. So it really needs to be thought out properly. And I would like to give staff that time to take this survey and put it into layman's term and bring it back to us what it's really going to cost us.
Thank you. Further comments, Mayor Catherine?
I appreciate what you're saying, Councillor Ainsworth, because this was an unplanned expense, but as the mayor has said, it's been something that's been percolating in the background for quite a while. But I take a different view. Without having that information, how do we plan our budget moving forward? You know, it is about asset management. I both sides I can see, but in this case, I think if we're going to drive our care for this asset, we need to understand exactly what condition this asset is in. I would also say that's true for all of our assets, so it is an interesting.
Yeah, and in my opinion, Councillor Booth's resolution, pardon me, recommendation addresses that. So I think we have to go ahead with that. Councillor Ainsworth.
Actually, through you, Mayor, I was going to ask the same thing. I mean, maybe more clarification of what the RFP is going to be for. You know, are we going to commit ourselves to X amount of dollars?
No, we're not committed to anything.
Okay.
But as far as I'm concerned.
Because I mean, if you're like again, if you put out the RFP for a more intense structural review, they're going to have to start tearing some of these walls out compared to the one we just had. So
Yes.
that's a cost that we don't know where that's going to end up.
And we won't know until we get
Yeah.
go for 3 quotes.
Okay.
Right? Go ahead.
And I agree with what everybody's saying. I'm just saying, if you look at the report, it says the next step is to have somebody come in. So I'm agreeing with what everybody's saying. And even this in Dave's comment is, it's just that what I disagree with is that we're going to move the staff all out and put them somewhere. And then we might do the study next year. So what are we going to do? Leave the building empty and we're waiting? We know that to find out what it's going to cost, somebody's going to have to come in and do it. If the RFP, the company comes back and says, you got to move everybody out because we're going to tear open walls and look at foundations and everything and it's not safe, then I agree. Then we need a plan to move people out. And until we find out, it could be $1 million or it could be $50,000. We don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something small and the company says you don't have to move them out, then we don't have to move them.
Go ahead, Dave.
Through your Mayor to council. So the idea of bringing this report to you to go back over was for information. It was so that staff could have time to find out all of the information required to put before you to give you options. Secondly, it was to give council time to discuss, research, do all of that. The debate actually comes next council meeting. When you have the options before you.
Thank you. So it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councillor Ainsworth.
No.
Oh, no, that was the first, that was the first. Now I'm going to the second one, which was moved by Councillor Booth and seconded by Councillor O'Neill, I believe. And that was exactly what it was.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So it's for staff to issue an RFP for qualified company to conduct an engineered assessment of the Grafton Municipal Office.
All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Next we have. Want to take a 10-minute break? No, let's take a 5-minute break. Yeah, need a motion to take a 5-minute break. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Booth. All in favor? Motion's carried. We'll be back at, by that clock, let's go to this, 11:05 or 11:08.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes.
You're misunderstanding.
Pardon me? Yeah. Who the one that's during. What's that?
This is, this is the response back from the integrity commissioner. So they're saying 6.3 doesn't have, but anything involving the library board. So I guess, should I change that or just leave
Declaration on rights.
Yes.
Okay, do we need a resolution to go back? We're back at council and we're moving on to item 14.2, which is the draft strategic plan for 2024 to 2026. And the recommendation is the council receive report CLK 2024-22 draft strategic plan for information. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Okay, anybody have any questions or comments? And they're probably going to send them directly to you or through me, but to you, Madam Clerk. Go ahead.
I appreciate the time that you spent and your staff compiling all this information. The other thing that kind of was nice for me to read as I was going through it, that I share a lot of the insight that came through the surveys. I appreciate the natural beauty of the area. That's why my dad ended up here after the second one. One of the biggest concerns, which has been going on since we started, is the lack of high-speed internet. And with everyone working from home, the issue that people are having with internet. So I look forward to what the county is putting forward as well with their plan for fiber optics. And as well, the love of the arena has come through a lot of this. And the fact that the residents are really missing a community center here in Grafton. So it's really interesting and certainly aligned with the beliefs I looked through forward to the next steps of implementing everything and to see what will be at that location when we get through this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I just want to say that these are good stories and long overdue. We're in our second year of our term here, coming up to our third year, and we've really been putting out a lot of fires. So it's good to see that these stories, our survey with the road study and the strategic plan coming through and starting to give us some direction and some where we're going in the future. And thanks to staff for putting this all together and going through that whole process and keeping on top of it. So there's some really, really good stuff that came out of that. And I'm going to look forward to keeping it in front of me and following it. So thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Any other comments? Mary Catherine?
I reiterate that this is a great start, and I'm very pleased to see this before us today. Several solid short-term goals in there, and I'm sure they're going to get refined as we go through the public input at the next stage, and council gets to discuss this in more depth. A couple of things that did jump out at me, that there is great community support for our fire department and our library. So I hope that both departments have seen that and feel very good about that. Two things that I saw that really jumped out are accountability and the aging infrastructure. So that was being identified by the public, by council, by staff. So there's some those are the two that I saw really coming through time and time again. And I just draw to the people who are sitting here today to item C07, which is to increase community engagement opportunities through surveys, public meetings, open houses, etc. So that is something, and it's good to know that we have so many people who are already engaged and want to improve engagement. So that's great.
Thank you, Mayor Catherine. Greg, any comment? I guess I'd kind of like to mention what Mary Catherine already said, and that was the aging infrastructure. It comes across very, very strong from a lot of people, and it's this building that brings you to mind, or the arena, or the sand domes, all of those things that are coming at us and are going to affect us. So I'm glad and I'm happy to hear that people are aware of the situations that we have and are willing to talk about it and push council into making some decisions. They're going to be tough ones, but we're going to have to do those. And the other one that came through long and strong for me was the accountability. I think that was put into each and every one of the staff, the council, and the public, and that's why they elected us. So that's what we got to respond to. That's all my comments. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? That motion is carried. Next, we're going to move on to communication.
Logo.
Yes.
Sorry. I was just wondering, because we have people here that are very engaged in the topic, if our clerk could just go over the next steps for public engagement, please.
You want to do that? Okay.
So, excuse me, through your mayor logo. So our next steps, we are looking to put the strategic plan out for public comment. So we'll have hard copy surveys available at our libraries and our Grafton Municipal Office here. There's also going to be an online survey as well that'll be available to the public to comment on, and we'll take that feedback when we bring forward the next the final draft. So we'll work anything in. So hopefully there's nothing missing, but we do go out for public comment to identify maybe there was a concern that was missed that the community would like to see included in that. But we did a pretty fulsome review and firmly believe we hit most of the marks, if not all, from what we did receive back from the community council and staff during the process, but always happy for that feedback to occur. So the next step is the final strat plan would come forward at a future council meeting here in the next near future. And it'll, once adopted, it'll form the basis of any projects or initiatives that we have going forward, including our 2025 budget process.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to next in our agenda is communications. And we have a motion to receive the communications that the agenda items 15.2 to 15.6 on the September 10th, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be received for information. Could I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Mary Catherine, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any questions or comments? I guess I have one or two, actually, maybe three. I believe that the first one, 15.2, which is a request for support regarding infrastructure funding. 15.3 is a request for support regarding urging the government to promptly resume the assessment cycle, and the 15.4 request for support Limerick and Wawa for assistance in physician recruitment. All need to be supported by this council, and we should be sending a letter saying that we do support for those three. That's my opinion. Go ahead, Mary Catherine.
I thought we were supposed to receive for information first and then pull them out. So it wasn't that I didn't agree with you, Mayor. It was just process.
Okay, go ahead. This process.
Yep. So through Mayor Logo, so Mary, Councillor O'Neill is correct. So if there's any items for just general discussion at this point in correspondence, but not necessarily for support, that would be the time for us to discuss them would be now.
Okay.
And then once we handle the motion to receive for information, then if anybody would like to have a a piece of correspondence specifically supported, we would move and second it at that point.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to receive any questions or comments on receiving all of those for information? Seeing none? All in favor? And I would take any ones that you want to pull and do any changes to or fully support by sending a letter to the MPP and whoever else that the clerk suggests. Does anybody want to make a motion on those? Go ahead, Mary Catherine.
Through you to the clerk, do you want each one as a separate motion, or can we bundle them into one motion?
Through you, Mary, we can bundle them if it's just strictly to support.
Okay,
If there's any nuances or anything specific or individualized, then we would do it separate. But if it's just a blanket motion to support, you can include multiple.
make a motion to support 15.2, 15.3, and 15.4.
Can I get a seconder for that? Second by Deputy Mayor Stover. Any discussion? All in favor? That motion's carried.
Sorry, Mayor Logel, just to confirm, Councilor O'Neill, it was 15.2, 3, and 4? Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Next item on here is bylaws. We're up to item 16. And our first bylaw is number 612024 to appoint a chief building official / bylaw enforcement officer. The bylaw 612024 being a bylaw to appoint a chief building official / bylaw enforcement officer be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 10th day of September 2024. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. The next one is 16.2, bylaw number 622024, to appoint an interim deputy building chief bylaw enforcement officer. It is recommended the Council of Corporation of the Township of Alma-Culdum enact as follows: that bylaw number 622024 being a bylaw to appoint an interim deputy chief building official / bylaw enforcement officer be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 10th day of September 2024. Mover and seconder, moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Councillor Booth. Any discussion? Yes, go ahead.
Two things. When will CBO Butwell commence? And that was for the one that just snuck by me without my question getting in. And the second one is we did appoint someone, Gerald Sprague. Is that then are we now going to have Ken Andrus here, but the other one will not be here? Like, what's the plan here? Sorry.
Go ahead. Coordinator or coordinator. Clerk. I call you a lot of things.
We'll get there. We'll get there. So through you, Mr. Mayor, Councilor O'Neill, yes. So with the CBO appointment bylaw, that repeals our current CBOs, interim CBOs, Ken Andrus's appointment bylaw, as well as our now former interim deputy CBO Gerald's appointment as well. So those contracts have now terminated with the those appointments have now concluded with the approval of the previous bylaw, appointing Don Butwell, who will be joining us next Monday, 2 weeks Monday. Yeah, so we're looking very forward to having him on board. So that will be in place. The bylaw that's before you right now, bylaw number 62, to appoint an interim deputy chief. That's just reappointing Mr. Andrus to serve as that interim deputy just during this transitional phase.
Okay. Further questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Next we have 16.3, which is an addendum, bylaw number 632024, to amend bylaw number 3320. I think that's probably two, no. It is 14, isn't it? And authorize extension agreement for use of roads in Northumberland County Forest. And it is recommended the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Allen McCullough enact as follows: that bylaw 632024 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 33, 2014 and authorize an extension agreement for the use of roads in Northumberland County be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 10th day of September 2024. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor O'Neill. Seconded by Councillor Booth. Any discussion? All in favor? The motion is carried. Announcements and notice of motion. We have none today. And we'll move on to item 18, which is the closed session items. And I'll read the resolution. It is recommended the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Allen McCullough enact as follows: that the regular council meeting of September 10th, 2024 moved in closed session under Municipal Acts Section 239-2 for the security of the property of the municipality or local board, for reason personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Number 3, a proposed or pending acquisition of land by the municipality or local board. And item K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instructions to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on behalf of the municipality or local board. And that could be regarding advisory committee and local board appointments, resignations, staffing matters, IT infrastructure, proposed disposition of land, and long-term facility use request. Can I get a mover and a seconder? You have to get a mover and a seconder. Yeah. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover. Seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Further discussion? All in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. We're going into closed session and appreciate you all being here. We're going to be a while, are we? Or, yeah. It is recommended the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Allen McCullough enact as follows: that Mayor Logle's report out of council be received for information. And my report states that council received 5 reports in closed session. Staff were provided direction and will be proceeding as directed in closed meeting. I guess we need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Councillor Booth. Further discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Next, we have a confirming bylaw number 64, 2024. Confirming bylaw. The bylaw 64, 2024, being a bylaw to adopt the proceedings of the regular council meeting held on the 10th day of September 2024, and to authorize its execution be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 10th day of September 2024. Moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by Councillor Booth. Further discussion? All in favor? Motion carried. And motion to adjourn that the regular council meeting held on September 10th, 2024 be adjourned at 1:12 p.m. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, everyone.